Welcome. Let's see. All right, here we go. Welcome everybody who's joining us via Zoom. I'm Arundel County Executive Stuart Pittman, and we're doing Plan 2040 at home for regional planning areas 4, 5, and 6. So you'll be seeing maps about what that all is. Most of you probably know. I'm really thrilled to hear that we have 130 or 40 community leaders and residents on this call. And I'm just going to open it up a little bit and explain from my perspective what we're doing, and then I'm going to turn it over to the staff at planning, to the long-range planners, to update you on their work. But this is sort of an experiment in virtual democracy, the way I see it. I felt really, really strongly when I came into this job. I ran for this job because I felt like growth and development in this county was not being managed well. And part of that was the frustration that people had with small area planning and general development plans that were not adhered to, and projects that were being built that were not really complying with some of the laws. So modifications and various ways to get around our laws, and then our laws didn't always reflect what we had in our plans. So I'm taking this process of developing Plan 2040, our 20-year general development plan, very seriously, and I know that our Office of Planning and Zoning is taking it incredibly seriously. And while we did a lot of public input, in fact, it started before me in the Shu administration. They did, I think, eight community forums, and then I came in and said we need one in every small area. We did another 17 forums, and then we put together the Reconstituted Citizens Advisory Committee that has been working with the planning department on this. And then when the coronavirus hit, there was a real question about how we would put out the work for comment when we couldn't do these community meetings that historically had been the way for people to have input. And the staff came up with this incredible tool that you're going to see tonight that some of you have probably already visited, where you not only get to look at the general concepts they're working with and comment on every single one of those if you choose to, but you get to look at maps of how the county has been broken down. They've got new categories that I find really useful. There's areas that are considered neighborhood preservation areas. There are rural and agricultural areas. There are peninsula areas that we know have unique challenges, as well as corridor management, critical economic centers, and town centers. And to me, that's a really smart way of looking at our county. And it's from my perspective, smart growth is the goal. And the way I see smart growth is that we preserve open space, we protect our environment and our natural resources that we can't replace once they're paved over. And but we continue to have economic development, and we drive development into areas where it gets cars off the road, hopefully. Transit-oriented development and mixed use in some areas of the county, to me, are the future. And so I think that's the attitude that everybody's gone into this with. But there are a lot of specifics, and they're in this. They're actually applications for changes in the kind of land use that have been submitted by landowners. And you're going to see some of those tonight. They're going to talk about how they've viewed those. You can comment on every single one of those in your community, so that by the time the general development plan gets done, you have had an opportunity to comment. Information that the staff might not know about your neighborhood is included because you put it in there and you told them they were wrong or they were right in how they're viewing some of these potential land uses. And then that's not the end of the story. We'll go into the regional planning, which is like the old small area planning, where there's even more focus at the neighborhood level before we do the part that really is where the decisions get made, which is comprehensive rezoning. And then that's divided by area. So it's a little frustrating, I think, for some of those who are speculators who they purchase land in the hope that they can upzone it or change its use to be able to build something and make a profit. But the rules are being established in this county, and I think the rules are fair. I think the developers are realizing that things are changing, but with the changes, they'll have the kind of certainty that a business person needs, and the communities are finding that you can really monitor this stuff now. We're going online with our land use navigator. It's taking a little bit longer, so applications will all be online and people can monitor that. But the tool that you've got here is relatively user-friendly. Even I can work it and have some fun with it. Hopefully you can too. I just want to note before I stop though, that in addition to everything that's being done on the general development plan, that's only a part of what the Office of Plan and Zoning does. There's also inspections and permits. There's important work, in my view, being done by the county council as well, that regulates land use in our county. And so we've made some changes in the laws. We did the forest conservation bill that passed unanimously through the council, that made it more difficult to take down trees. And we've done some changes in the to promote and encourage workforce housing and fair housing laws in the county. We were under threat of lawsuits from ACLU and others in this county for lack of attention to some of that work. And we're going to continue on that road with moderately priced dwelling units set aside so that new development is mixed costs, so that our kids and our grandparents and we, when we get older, can also afford to live in this county. And then there's revitalization work, and I know there's legislation that is going to facilitate that, make it easier to do development in areas, the parts of Glen Burnie in particular, where Councilwoman Pickard is working to facilitate some redevelopment work. We're looking at adequate public facilities, laws, particularly traffic. Route 2 and Route 3 are areas. In fact, we just had a meeting this morning with the Secretary of Transportation about the work that we have to do to move the traffic through Route 2 and Route 3. But part of that is how we manage development in those corridors, and to start taking seriously the question of whether or not there are failed intersections where we're adding new development. We shouldn't be doing that, in my view. We're looking at impact fees and doing a study to adjust the impact fees in this county so that they reflect the real costs of development. And we've changed how we do modifications. So particularly on issues that impact the environment, so that you can't get around the rules quite as easily as you used to be able to. And so the result is that there have been projects that have been pushed back, denied, or are going to have to be redone. You've all probably heard about the Enclave at Crofton being denied, and the Monticello properties by Saltworks Creek that developer even went so far as cutting down specimen trees, or somebody did, in advance of the project to try to get it through easily. We're just not accepting that kind of behavior from developers anymore. Marsh Landing been pushed back, Glebe Heights as well. So it's a changing time for the county. I think our priorities are pretty clear, that we care about the land that we live on and the water that we live near. But we want to be able to have jobs and to do the kind of development that our kids and hopefully our grandkids and we, when we get older, can actually use. So I'm really proud of the work that the team has done, and I think this tool is exciting. The purpose of tonight is not actually the way that you comment. I mean, there is going to be a Q&A period at the end, and people can ask any questions they want or say anything that they want. But if you want your input recorded, you go into this tool and you put it in there, and it's attached to the proposal. So it's a really fair way to get everybody's views heard. So I'm going to turn it over to this team that we have. I want to note that there may be others, but I know that some elected officials are here on the call, that registered for the call at least. Councilwoman Amanda Fiedler, as well as Councilman Nathan Volke, are with us, and I'm sure that they're listening intently to everything having to do with the general development plan. And we also have Candace Antwine from the school board with us, and then the chair of our Citizens Advisory Committee, Elizabeth Rosberg, is very hardworking and with us always for all of these. And thank you for joining us, Elizabeth. So we have Christina Pampa, Cindy Carrier, and oops, I'm looking at yesterday's, the last one, Patrick Hughes and Don Ziegler, who are going to be explaining all of this to us. And then I'm going to turn it over quickly to our community engagement and constituent services representative from my office, who represents these areas, Reese Peak, who is going to let us know how this format is going to work.
Good evening. I'm Reese Peak. I'm the Community Engagement Officer for Districts 4, 5, and 6. Today's webinar is going to cover what the GDP is and why is it important, and why we need participation from all members of the community in this process. There's also going to be a tutorial that's the focus of the meeting on how to use our new interactive website that the county executive was just mentioning, how to submit your comments on the GDP with it. And once you're comfortable with submitting your comments through this tool, we encourage you to share the tool with your contacts. That's the really important key part of it, where we, you know, it's not just you, it's everyone in the community who needs to comment on the GDP. Because, you know, the more community input we receive on this draft, the better the final product will be. At the end of the tutorial, we're going to have a Q&A session where participants are able to ask any questions about the functionality of the interactive website and specific questions on how to use it. To ask a question, simply just click the raise hand button on the bottom of the screen and wait for me to call on your name, and you'll be prompted to unmute yourself, and you'll have 1 minute to ask your question. You're also free to ask questions throughout the presentation using the Q&A box. That's below the screen as well, and we will try to answer them as we can. There will be a few poll questions throughout, and to get started, we're going to go with something easy. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? My favorite strawberry, so 0 votes for that right now.
And rum raisin isn't up there, so I'm not going to fill it out.
Great, so those are the results of the poll, and we will be broadcasting similar polls on these questions. And so with that out of the way, I'm going to hand it back over to Planning and Zoning.
Thank you, Reese. Appreciate that. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Patrick Hughes. I'm a senior planner with the long range planning team. I've been with the county for 6 years now, coming actually from a private sector consulting firm where I worked for 7 years prior. And I'm joined by my colleague, Don Ziegler. Don, if you can unmute and kind of introduce yourself as well.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Don Ziegler. I've been with the Long Range Planning. I've been with the Office of Planning around 4 years and Long Range Planning team for almost 2 years. I have 15 years of experience working with local county planning departments across Central Maryland.
Great, thanks. So thanks to everyone out there for taking the time to be involved as this plan is coming together. It's, even though we can't have in-person forums that we had hoped to do, we are hoping that this will be as interactive as possible. This is going to be a little bit of a different kind of town hall meeting, though. This is a tutorial where we're going to give you a tour of the website that we've created to share some of the main draft elements of Plan 2040. And we put this together to try to expand the access that the public has to the work that we're doing, and to expand the public's ability to comment on the work that's been done at this point. This draft is based on a large amount of public outreach and input that's happened over the past 3 years. And but before we really get into talking about the plan and the website, I'd like to queue up the next poll if we could. I'd like to ask, how many of you have been in previous meetings with Plan 2040, or previous meetings that we've hosted on Plan 2040? So let me give everyone just a couple of minutes to answer that. And do we have responses, Reese, at this point? I'm not seeing them. Okay, good. So just over half of you have not, just under half have been to previous meetings, and about half of you have not. So that's good. We're reaching out to some new folks, and that's what we were hoping to be able to do today. So I'm going to share my screen here and get into a PowerPoint here. So tonight's agenda, what I'd like to do is give you a background to what Plan 2040 is and why it's important. And then I'm going to go through and discuss the subsequent region planning process that's going to follow this Plan 2040 process. And then my colleague Don is going to walk you through the online tool and help orient you to how you can use it to review and comment on the major elements that have been drafted to date. And then, like Reese explained at the end, we're going to take some time for some questions. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, please go ahead and enter them into the question and answer feature below. Now, the General Development Plan, it is a big and complex document, so there's a lot of information to share and review. And this is just an overview of it tonight. So I'll invite you to visit and use the website to really review the draft material and submit comments at your convenience. This interactive website is going to be available to the public until September 10th. And we also, I'll reiterate as well, please do share this website with your community and with your neighbors. It's really critical that we get as much input from the public as we can. So if I can, okay. So quick background, what is Plan 2040? Plan 2040 is the latest update to the county's general development plan. This is the plan that guides land use in the county, helps us capitalize on its assets and conserve critical resources. It's prepared in compliance with state requirements and guidelines, and it has input from numerous agencies and departments across the county. Ultimately, it is adopted by the county council, and the GDP establishes policies and recommendations that guide land use decisions over about a 20-year planning horizon. So it's primarily a policy document, and it's not a regulatory document in itself. However, all master plan and development regulations that are adopted by the county must be consistent with the goals and policies and recommendations of this plan. Plan 2040 is an opportunity for the community to share their ideas on how to shape the development of Anne Arundel County for the next 20 years. It guides policy on a number of important topics, and we've received a lot of input on these from the public, including the environment. We heard a lot from the public about the importance of preserving the environment, and therefore the plan includes goals and policies to protect streams and forests, shorelines, water quality. We heard a lot about affordable housing. So the plan includes goals and policies for supporting affordable housing. And the land use map actually informs where townhomes and apartments and duplexes and other forms of housing are allowed. Traffic, this came up as a big concern over and over at a lot of the different venues, the events that we hosted. And so the plan includes goals and policies to improve safety and provide more viable transportation options. And then land use, this is really the centerpiece of the plan. And so the plan outlines how the county is going to grow and protect natural resources. Now, this is the overall framework for Plan 2040, and most of this is included in this online tool in a draft form for you to review and comment on. First, we have the vision and themes, and this helps capture what citizens most value about the county and what they want it to become in the future. We have a development policy areas map, and this provides a broad framework in the county for identifying areas that are appropriate for a certain range of land uses and public facilities. We have, as I mentioned, the planned land use map, and this outlines anticipated uses over the next 20 years. And like I said, it's the core of Plan 2040. And then we have goals and policies and strategies in each of these 4 key areas: the natural environment, built environment, healthy economy, and healthy communities, which focuses on education and health and recreation, etc. The final plan is also going to have an implementation plan for moving us toward achieving the goals that are outlined, and also a series of metrics to help us measure our progress. So with the tool that Don is going to walk through with you, you'll be able to comment on these draft elements of Plan 2040 from your homes and at your own convenience. Now, this plan was developed through a pretty extensive series of community engagement events. And this process was a far more interactive process than any previous county GDP, Anne Arundel County GDP. It was developed over the course of 2017 to 2020, and it included, we started with a public education workshop that kicked off the process. As the executive mentioned, we had 8 listening sessions and then 17 community vision sessions throughout the county. We had separate meetings with over 30 stakeholder groups. We hosted several online surveys. There's been a dedicated webpage with updated information for people. We developed a pretty extensive email listserv and other digital outreach platforms. And we even had a youth conference for high school students that was focused on what is the GDP and what is land use. So this draft plan, it really builds on more than 20 public meetings and online surveys that we've posted over the last couple of years. And we've had about 3,000 people who have participated in these events to share their concerns and their hopes for the county. And based on input from the public, the draft elements of Plan 2040 incorporate considerations of, like I said before, environmental protection, improved transportation and infrastructure, a real focus on redevelopment and revitalization, and also social equity. So after Plan 2040 is adopted, the county is going to begin a series of region plans. And these plans they'll effectively update small area plans that were prepared around the county between 1998 and 2004. So the purpose of the region plans is really to identify and address key community level issues within each of these regions. And the format's going to look pretty similar to Plan 2040 in that it's going to have each plan is going to have a set of goals and policies and strategies. There will be a planned land use map for each of the regions, and there will be an implementation plan. Now, 20 years ago, there were 16 small area plans, and this was a pretty demanding and resource intensive effort. Working with the Citizen Advisory Committee for Plan 2040 and also through community meetings, we've actually proposed 9 regions that are going to allow for this more local and specific planning after Plan 2040 is adopted. So tonight we are focusing on, I don't know if you all can see my mouse, we're really focusing on these regions 4, 5, and 6. So region 4 includes the communities of Pasadena and Gibson Island, Arnold, all the way down Broadneck. Region 5 over on the west is the Crofton area, Odenton, Pony Orchard, also includes Woodwardville. And then Region 6 is the center of the county, the middle of the county. It's primarily Crownsville with parts of Millersville included. And actually the Office of Community Engagement and Constituency Services, they've already adopted using these regions to help them organize their work geographically. So what will the region plans be? I mentioned that they focus on more detailed planning for smaller areas of the county. There will be a comprehensive assessment of zoning designations that will be conducted as part of each region plan, and there will be opportunities to propose changes in zoning to properties within regions. Our anticipated schedule is that we'll update 3 regions at a time, and we think that it'll take about somewhere between 18 and 36 months to do a region plan. And we will be establishing an advisory committee for each region plan, and we want that committee to actually reflect the diversity of the local communities within each region, and to help conduct community engagement for each region. So that's the background to what Plan 2040 is. Now, next we're going to show you how the Plan 2040 at Home website works. And like I said, that covers most of the big pieces of Plan 2040 that are drafted currently. It is a lot of information, and I really encourage you to spend some time with this tool, walking through the information to understand how it's developed, what's been drafted, and all of the various ways that you can comment, including survey tools. There are also detailed documents that are linked in, and again, Don is going to point those out as he walks through the tool with you. But before we get to that website, before I turn it over to Don, I'm going to do one last poll. I want to see how many of you are familiar with SurveyMonkey. And the poll is up now. So have you used SurveyMonkey before? Yes, no, yes, once or twice, many times. So here are our results. Good. So over half of you have used it, and it looks like 3/4 have used it at least once. So about 19% have not. So this may be your first opportunity for some of you to use it. We do have a survey embedded in the online tool, and I will turn it over now to Don Ziegler to share all of that with you.
All right, great. Thank you, Patrick. All right. All right. Once you go to the website that Patrick outlined, www.aacounty.org/Plan2040 open house, you will come to the online open house. So this is Plan 2040 Community Engagement at Home website. I'm giving you a brief tour of the website to demonstrate how to navigate and submit comments. The website presents the major draft elements of Plan 2040, the Joan Development Plan for Arundel County. It provides multiple tools to view information and to provide feedback. Note, this is a dense amount of information. Please spend time walking through it to understand it. The website represents a new kind of effort to reimagine the County Office of Planning and Zoning to engage the community in a way that supports social distancing and promotes equitable access. This is an opportunity for transparency to share major elements in the draft form to get feedback from the public before we release the full plan for review. The website can be available to accept comments from August 5th to September 10th. It can be accessed at any time, day or night, so you don't have to worry about arranging your schedule to attend a traditional public meeting. After the virtual open house period closes, comments will be evaluated for inclusion in a full draft plan document that will be open for public comment for 30 days, and then reviewed through a formal series of meetings with the County Planning Advisory Board and the County Council through the fall and winter. The County Council has the final authority to adopt the plan, and the Office of Planning and Zoning anticipates submitting the Joan Development Plan to the County Council by the end of the year. All right, so with that, let me show you the overall layout of the Plan 2040 at Home website. This website is built with tabs that you can see along the top ribbon: Introduction, Vision and Themes, Goals and Survey. And the first tab is the Introduction tab. So click on Introduction, you let it load up. This is the starting point. It provides introductory information to the online open house with a brief background overview of Plan 2040. It includes an overview of the Plan 2040 planning process. And if you go to the left-hand side, you can scroll down to see other major elements of the open house. It presents key themes from the community, in which we've summarized in the primary takeaways from the extensive community engagement processes to this point, and how we plan to respond in turn. So you can find more information if you keep scrolling down, including a video tutorial and a glossary, the purpose of Plan 2040 and the key themes, which I've previously stated. All right, the next tab, if you scroll all the way back up to the top, is vision and themes. Right. The vision was developed by the Citizens Advisory Committee using inspiration from the public comments received during the visioning and listening sessions. It is the guiding light for how the plan should be developed and how the county should look in the future. The vision is supported by 5 themes. And if you use the arrow on the right-hand side, you can see the themes. And you can also keep scrolling down. Just 1 second. All right. So the vision is supported by 5 themes: resilient and sustainable communities, new and improved infrastructure, strategic economic growth and redevelopment, community character, and inclusive and equitable and responsive government. And if you go on the right-hand side, there's a right-hand scroll bar that you can see all the other themes as well. So please take your time to read through all of the themes that the Citizens Advisory Council Committee has come up with. All right, the next tab that we have is the Goals Survey tab. All right, the essence of Plan 2040 are the goals, policies, and implementing strategies, which are organized into the following 4 categories. And you can see the categories on your screen. Natural environment, which addresses forests, streams, shorelines, and water quality. Built environment, which addresses land use, housing, transportation, cultural and historic resources, and climate resiliency. Healthy communities, which addresses public services, including schools, libraries, public health, and public safety. And healthy economy, while including efforts to attract, retain, and expand businesses, including innovative technology, and our traditional agricultural and marine trades. So if you scroll to the left, oh, sorry, 1 second. Scroll down and see all the goals and policies. You can also download the entire set of the goals and policy and strategies at this link right here. If you click on that, and if you keep scrolling down, you will see tabs for each major individual policy area. And I'll go through that right now. All right, in total, there are over 400 individual goals, policies, and implementing strategies. You can click on that link I mentioned before to see the full list. And if you click on each individual tab on the side, you can see more information about each individual section. So if you scroll down to the right for planning and natural environment, you'll see the goals. And you'll also see on the left-hand side more information about each individual one. All right, so to access the survey, you will scroll down to the right and you will see the challenges and opportunities for each major plan area. And to provide comments, you'll see the survey at the bottom of the screen. What you're going to do is click the Explore button to the right. And once you click the Explore button, you'll be able to access the SurveyMonkey survey and to provide your rating and ranking for each individual goal, and also provide your overall comments at the end of the survey as well, and submit those comments. So that is true for all of the individual areas. So if we click on healthy communities, the same thing, you'll see how we develop them, challenges, opportunities, and then finally your comments with the survey. Just click Explore. All right. So next up, we have development planned areas, development policy area maps. And if you go back to the top and click on that link. All right, so with this tab, the next 3 tabs of the website present a set of maps to illustrate the plan for future land development and conservation. Please note that these maps may take a moment to load based on your internet connection. The first map that we have is development policies area map, which provides a conceptual high-level framework to provide you of planned land use. All right, just click view the map. All right, the categories on this map for development policy areas are where we want to preserve rural and agricultural lands, peninsulas that require special consideration of environmental resources and infrastructure constraints, the major employment centers and designated town centers of Parole, Odenton, and Glen Burnie, where we want to focus development and redevelopment, and the primarily residential neighborhoods that we want to maintain. Some more information about the development policy areas, you can click on this link. And also we have a separate survey to provide for you to provide more information about the development policy area map on this link right here. So with this map, you can scroll around, zoom in and out, and you can see the different policy areas on the right-hand side. And also you can provide your address by clicking on this box right here. This is the address Office of Planning and Zoning to see the development policy area. The next map is the resource and sensitive policy area map. And you just click the next tab and just wait for the map to load and click on view this map. All right. This map, the resource sensitive policy areas map, compiles information on natural resources such as wetlands and floodplains along the cultural and historic resources like scenic roads and designated historic sites. These features are regulated by a set of local, state, and federal laws. This map is intended for planning purposes only as a general guide. When development projects are reviewed, studies of these features are conducted by qualified experts to provide more accurate information. Note that this map may take a moment to load. Once loaded, you may click layers on and off. The base map can also be changed by clicking on base map gallery. So again, you can scroll around the map, zoom in and out, change layers. As you can see, it's into species, streams. You can just click on and you can click the base map gallery here to put imagery on and provide other information to help you see more clearly what's in your neighborhood. All right, the next two maps that we have, first up is the planned land use map. And if you just scroll and just want to make sure I have all the information shown. All right, that was the resource sensitive area map, development policy areas map. And just also with the development policy areas map, I may have failed to mention that you can also read more information about how they were developed by clicking this link here. Next up is planned land use map. On your computer, it may take a second to load. All right. So, okay. Well, in an effort to provide both transparency and clarity, we created this interactive tool to illustrate the proposed changes between the 2009 land use map on the right and the 2040 map on the left. The colors on the map identify different types and land uses such as low, medium, and high density residential, commercial, industrial, and other land uses. In the sidebar, you can see a brief overview and click on the link. So here's the sidebar. And we have a whole briefing paper on how the background information, how we develop our Plan 2040 land use changes and land use map. So if you just click on the briefing paper, it will provide a ton of information on how the planned land use was developed. So please read through this. And then after you read through this, you can come back and look at the map. All right. So that briefing paper provides a methodology and principles to explain how this land use map was developed. So I just want to give a brief tutorial of how this map works. We have a sliding bar in the middle. And like I said before, the Plan 2040 map is on the left and the 2009 land use map is on the right. And you can see the changes if you scroll the bar back and forth. I just want to show you an area that is in region 5. So I can probably more accurately show you some of the changes that were made. So here we are. I'll just click out of that real quick. just south of Odenton along Piney Orchard Parkway. Forgive me for that. I just want to show you some of the changes, and this map can be kind of sensitive. But if you change the sliding bar, you can see that there were changes being made from the 2009 map from the 2040 map. If you slide the bar, and those changes, I'm sorry. Yes,
well,
Patrick.
yeah, I was just gonna help explain too. So that briefing paper that you just talked about, Don, explains some of these, the nature of these changes. This is what we call a consistency change, where a lot of those properties were in the 2009 plan were showing up, I think, as were they medium density or low medium density? But
they were low medium. Mm-hmm.
They were low medium, but the actual built development pattern is more along the lines of low density. So that's what we're showing in this draft Plan 2040 map.
Right. So this, yes, with that briefing paper and this map, we're just showing you how you can see the changes of the map. If you had comments on and want to provide more comments, you can make those comments on the comment on the draft plan land use map tab at the top. So that is a summary of just the plan land use map, and we'll get into that next tab next. Is there anything you want to say more about that, Patrick, before I move on?
No, I think you're doing a great job.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right, next tab. Comment on the draft plan land use map. And again, just depending on the internet service, it may take a second to load up. It's a lot of information that's on this map. All right, again, this is the Plan 2040 draft plan use map. It provides you with an opportunity to comment on the map overall and on specific properties where a change in plan land use map designation is proposed. Earlier on in this overall planning process, property owners were given the chance to apply for changes to the personal property's land use designation. After that application window closed, we opened the applications up to the community and welcomed feedback on what had been requested. We received over 1,000 comments during this period. Subsequently, planners took all of this information, what was being requested and why, what the general public had to say about it, and all the intended information that we as planners considered when coming up with our recommendations for the site's land use. With that done, we wanted to put all that compiled information back out to the public for review. The map that you were looking at is the culmination of all those efforts. What you see here is the Plan 2040 proposed land use. That's what we're proposing now, overlaid with the land use change applications noted as Luca application number. So over here on the right, you see the land use change applications with their numbers. Also, we have staff defined recommendations noted as SR application number. If you scroll all the way down to the right, you'll see the staff recommendation numbers as SR and their application number. And these staff recommendations are land use changes, which are labeled on this map on the right-hand side, as I have stated. All right, just want to give you a couple of examples of land use changes and how you can work this map to make comments. All right, so if we go to let's start with a land use change application that's in the area. We're going to start with Region 4, and we're going to go with land use change application number 4. All right, so once you have that pulled up, once you click on the right, you will see that here's the land use change application number 4, right along Sunrise Beach Road. And what you'll see on the right-hand side is information about this land use change application. You'll see the proposed land use, the current land use, and what was requested, which was commercial. You'll see the staff justification for our proposed land use change. And in this situation, we felt that commercial land use was not consistent with the surrounding area, and nor did it, was it consistent with the rural and agricultural policy area, and the need for expansion of commercial uses should be discussed further in the next region plan process. So with that, you can just keep scrolling down. You can actually click on the land use change application, and it will come up with what the applicant provided to us. Sometimes these applications are very detailed with maps, and sometimes they're not. So you can click on each land use change application. You can view a summary of staff analysis as well. So that you can see that there was a lot of thought that was put into this, as well as if you saw the planned land use map, there was also a briefing paper on the methodology of that as well. And before I get to the survey on the left, I just would continue on the land use change application and how you can make a comment. So this blue flag, this logo right here, you will click on that. And this is how you're going to make a comment on this application. So the first question that we ask is that, do you agree with this planned land use? Yes or no. If you disagree, we're requesting that you select a land use on what you think it should be. We're asking you for your primary reason for your opinion, which could be compatibility, traffic congestion, various other reasons. So your secondary reasons, provide your name, information, and place your comments. You have 255 character limit that you can make. You can place your comments here and submit it. You can also see other comments that people have made, and these are live and updated all the time. So you can come back and see if people have made more comments. So that's how you make a comment for the land use change application. And to get back out of it, you can just hit filter on the list, and all the land use change applications will come back. The next up, I want to show you a staff recommendation change, and that will be in the fourth. I might have said the land use change application was in the fourth region. It was in the sixth region. My apologies. This staff recommendation number 47 is in the fourth region plan area. And for this, we are proposing a change from low medium density residential to be consistent with the surrounding area. So the current land use designation was high density residential, and we're changing it for consistency reasons. If you agree, disagree, you would go through the same process of selecting whether you agree. And if you disagree, what land use you think it should be, the primary reason, the secondary reason, submit your comments, and you can see there are no comments being made on this so far. So that's how you comment on the draft land use map. That was a lot, I understand, but this is a great way to make your comments on each individual application. You can always go back out, filter the list. Again, you can always type in the address, if that's easier for you to try to figure out how to get around. And, for example, this is Office of Planning and Zoning's address, but you can also click or click on the side, for different applications as well. And lastly, we have a general plan land use map survey that we would like you to take as well to provide more comments. Unlike the other surveys, you can just click directly on this survey. All right. Lastly, is the thank you tab. There have been a ton of people who have come out to previous meetings for visioning and listening sessions, and we greatly thank you for your participation. You can always come back to this website and to provide more comments, and always be updated on what's going on with the general development plan by going to our website as well. So with that, that concludes the Plan 2040 Community Engagement at Home tutorial, and we can open this up for questions.
And again, to ask a question, simply hit the raise hand button, and I will call on you when you raise your hand. And the first question looks like it comes from Pat. Pat, I cannot hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. On the comment on draft planned land use map, like the Luca 1, 2, 3, how do you find which number is the piece that you want to comment on?
Good question.
Mhm. I was just waiting for the map to load up.
I could find Staples Corner on the map, but I couldn't find out which one of these Luca it was, so I could make a comment.
Right. So if you zoom into the map, you can just use the plus sign to go further onto the map to try to see which application number
I couldn't
that's in
find
the
the
area.
number on it.
I don't know that there was a land use change for that change request for that area. So we have the land use change applications. Those are mapped, and then we have also mapped the major staff recommended changes. So those are mapped, and then you would use the planned land use tab with that slider tool to actually see all of the changes between the 2009 GDP planned land use and the proposed Plan 2040 land use. And that's going to also pick up all of the those consistency changes that are outlined in that briefing document as well.
Right. And if you don't know the general area, just it may not be in this particular one, but all the land use and SR changes show up on the map on the right-hand side. For anyone else who had a different area that they were looking at.
I read someplace where they were talking about being a village center, so we don't comment on that.
So
That's development policy area.
go ahead, Don.
I was going to say that was just, yeah, it's a development policy area. You can provide comments about the development policy area if you click on the survey link about it, it'll give more comments on it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Looks like the next question is coming in from William Neville, and followed by that, it's Giovanni D'Amici.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. If I want to flip back between land use changes and transportation, what's the best way for me to do that?
Well, the land use changes that we're showing are just, they also comment on a number of different issues, but there's not a land use change specifically on transportation.
But the map does include all of the major roadways, and as you zoom in, you can use the roads to help orient you and to see the transportation network. So is that, I'm not sure that I'm answering your question.
So for example, if I want to take a look at Route 50 and the changes that are proposed for the construction of a new bridge on Route 50 and its impact on the intersecting roads and the land use changes that are involved in that particular area, what's the best format to do that? What should I focus on?
So the land use map takes into account the move and Arundel, which is the transportation functional master plan that was adopted. When was that adopted? I think it was the end of last year. It
Yes.
was put forward by our Office of Transportation, and that document and that plan, all of the planning work that went into that, we've used that. That's been one of the things that we used in putting together Plan 2040 and in developing this land use map. So the land use plan that you see here is also takes that plan into account. And I will say also the Office of Transportation and other agencies around the county, they are going to be doing testing of this land use plan for adequacy as well. So they're in the process of reviewing this as well. Does anybody else want to add anything?
Will there be a
to that?
section? Will there be a section in the GDP on kind of a summary of what you brought forward from the Anne Arundel transportation plan, the adopted plan?
Yes, and you can start to see some of that with the goals and policies that are outlined within this tool. You may be interested in actually downloading the full set of goals and policies and strategies. So Don is showing you right there. That link will pull up a document that has all of the draft goals, policies, and strategies that you can have a look at. And a lot of those do pertain to transportation.
Right, especially the built environment section.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Great. So now we have Giovanni D'Amici. Debbie, I also saw that your hand was raised, but it no longer is. Please do unmute yourself to ask a question. It looks like Giovanni is no longer in the webinar. Do we have any other questions from anyone else? Oh, it seems that he doesn't have audio capabilities. So we do.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Well, I had to use the phone because I was using a browser that does not support voice. Does not support the microphone. Okay, question about using the Plan and Land Use Map tab. And I'm looking at the 450 corridor between Route 3 and 424. And when I look at the 2009 land use, there is a lot. There's some, where did it go? Small business, staple corners essentially, and surrounding area, which now have become generic commercial, so any type of commercial, possibly large scale commercial. And also along 450, I see that what used to be other residential or open land now has some red areas in it, which is more commercial. Yet, when I look at the draft plan land use map, there is no indication of any staff recommended or land use application being placed for these changes. So I was wondering, from where did they come? How did they made it into the plan?
So, but at the outset of this process to develop this land use map, staff went through the entire county and conducted a really pretty thorough land use analysis. And that methodology is outlined in the briefing paper that's linked into that planned land use map tab. But just in a nutshell, there were really three main, I guess, three main types of changes. But we looked through the entire county. We looked at the zoning, the current zoning, and in some cases we looked at whether there were past zoning decisions and rationale that we needed to consider. We looked at the existing use of properties and the surrounding planned land use. We considered the sewer service area, the priority preservation area, and we took into account a number of things to really consider, to try to make this land use map so that the planned land use is consistent throughout the county. So there are a number of consistency changes that in some cases the land use designation is better aligned with parcel boundaries, and so those are reflected as changes. In some cases, a land use class is applied differently because the built environment of a neighborhood that is already built, for instance, a neighborhood that is built at low density residential but had been classified as low medium density residential in the 2009 land use plan, we've perhaps reclassified that neighborhood as low density residential. So there are a lot of consistency changes of that nature to help bring the land use plan more into consistency with the built environment, and in some cases places where a certain zoning category is applied that we anticipate is going to remain on that property. Does that help you understand the nature of those changes? So in addition to those changes, there were also the land use change applications that we also applied those same analysis criteria to, and then there were a handful of staff recommended changes that were a little bit bigger, and we called those out separately on the map. But hopefully that helps you sort of understand the methodology.
Well,
in a nutshell.
in this particular case, you have taken an area that was classified as natural feature or rural, and you turn into business.
Okay, so comments like that, those would be really helpful to have either directly into this online tool, or you can send them to our email address at plan2040@aacounty.org, and that way we can make sure that they get recorded into this round of input, and that is, that's considered as feedback on this plan.
Will do.
Great. So I'm going to ask that if you do have a question to keep your hand raised. Debbie, I noticed that you put your hand down again. So if you'd like to ask your question, please do. Actually, I'll go to Britt Griswold. Her hand is currently up. And just a reminder, the questions that we're doing here should primarily be focused on the hows of the tool and how we can best use it.
Well, I guess I wanted to make sure I understood two things. One is the sample land use request that you showed was rejected by the staff, leaves it as was. And so I assume in that case I would be agreeing with the land use as opposed to the proposed land use change by the owner. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And secondly, is there room for thought of actually downzoning land use as it may be currently be zoned. Is that a comment you're interested in seeing?
Go ahead,
Can
Don.
I take that?
Sure.
Hi, this is Christina Pompa. I think that there is a lot of confusion between what land use and what zoning is. The general development plan is a planning document, and in that planning document, we have a land use map that sets out specific land use categories. Land use informs zoning. Zoning is regulatory. It generally comprises two parts: maps and ordinance language. The maps and ordinance language are adopted by the county council, and they are regulatory, and that is what we regulate development on. This plan is not about zoning, because it's not zoning, it's a plan. So if you are suggesting that you want to see a land use category downgraded, which is the term I would use, you can put that comment in here. The staff has gone through a rigorous process in evaluating the land use, and all of that process is contained in the briefing paper. The briefing paper is pretty meaty, and it's not a bold link over in the text, but I really encourage everybody to read it because it lays out the process that staff followed to come to the conclusions that they did. But if obviously lots of people disagree with the staff recommendations, many property owners think we erred and we should have agreed that a land use change should happen. Everyone, please recognize that this is a staff recommendation. Ultimately, the county council is going to make the decisions on these. But yes, you know, if you feel strongly that a land use should be downgraded, then you can tell us through this tool.
Thank you.
I don't see any more questions or any more hands raised, so I'm gonna give everyone a minute. If they have any other questions, it's like William Neville has another question. So go back to him.
Can one go back and review the entire presentation this evening at a more leisurely pace and go through each of the documents that you presented?
Yes. Yeah, this presentation will be posted on the county's YouTube channel, which you can access from the county's main page. There was a similar town hall focused on the northern part of the county held on Monday, and that, I was about to say that has already been posted, and I actually don't know if that is true, but they will be on the county's YouTube channel.
Thank you.
There's also a tour in the introduction section, isn't there?
Correct.
Yeah.
So
This
no more questions, so I'm gonna.
Hey, Reese.
Yes.
I just want to point out from the chat that Delegate Heather Bagnell is on the call, and she has been the whole time, and we have neglected to mention her. So thank you, Delegate, for joining us this evening.
And if I could, this is Stuart Pittman again. I just want to thank the staff for putting this tool together. It's really impressive, and they didn't have a whole lot of time to do it. And I hope people use it. I think people will use it. Think of yourselves as now the ambassadors who can go out and teach it to your neighbors.
Yes.
In fact, I know some community associations are going to be using these in their meetings, in their virtual meetings, to get people to review what's in their communities. So that's our goal, is for this to be accessible to anyone and everyone. So help us spread the word. So good night, everybody.
Thank you all for coming.